Traps are a unique mechanic in Dungeons & Dragons in the sense that they don't fall into any one category, and there's no real rules on them. The function, DC, disarming, and triggering of the trap is all down to the DM. Want to make a trap that explodes into eldritch tentacles that grapple a player and slam him into the ground repeatedly before disappearing as if it never happened? You can totally do it, and I encourage you to do so. On their own, traps don't exactly do much. It's all about how you use them. In that regard, I'm going to suggest one or two ways that I use traps in a little more meaningful than a oops, you failed, just save, get hit type of way. Firstly, there is beauty in simplicity. Just because I said a little bit more meaningful doesn't mean that the original use for traps is useless. On the contrary, in fact, when used at the right moment, even a simple dart trap triggered by a tripwire can have amazing uses. Here's the story. The party finds themselves on the bottom floor of the catacombs. Their torch is lit, since the tiefling is the only one who has dark vision, when suddenly they hear the shifting of stone against stone. Suddenly, the furbolg is impaled with a bolt shot seemingly from nowhere. The party now has a decision to make. Press on with the wounded furbolg, take a rest which costs time, increasing the risk of being discovered, or use a spell slot to cure wounds. Regardless of the party's choice, they have just taken a loss. Time, HP, or a spell slot. This will have a knock-on effect when they reach the boss of the catacombs and they're lacking either health or a spell slot. Or, because of the time taken to have a short rest, the boss now has more minions with him. All this because they missed a pressure plate that required a DC 14 perception check. And that showcases the first use case of a trap. Use it not as a replacement to a combat encounter, but as a buffer to one. Force them to make a decision which turns a rather easy encounter into a more difficult one. Secondly, we can use the same story from above, but instead of using a regular dart, it's a whistling arrow. And this doesn't change too much, the damage remains the same, but things just got a little louder. That whistle has now alerted all of the enemies in that final chamber. Now those creatures are taking up defensive positions inside and are waiting for the party to step through, either inflicting surprise on the party or just being ready for them. See, the second use of a trap could be to alert the party's enemies to the presence, forcing the party to adapt or face them head on. A third use for a trap could be for tension. Think a snare or a net trap that hangs the heroes, or villains depending on your campaign, upside down. The snapping of the branches alerts the goblin patrol that something sprung the trap, and they're heading over. The party has about 30 seconds to do something before they're spotted. See, all of these traps achieve something. A choice. Keep pressing forward with one deficit, or wait it out and suffer one of a different kind. But even with these ideas, there's one more thing that needs to be taken into account when making a trap. And that's who built it. Goblins aren't exactly capable of building intricate traps which require a passphrase written in Celestial to get past, else they face the wrath of Lathander. Nor are they capable of using drow poison in the correct ways to drop the party by one. So think about the types of technology and tools at the creator's disposal. That will narrow down the types of traps you can throw at the party. Or, you could just turn a chest into a mimic.